Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Effective Natural Healing with Grocery Store Herbs and Spices. I'm Trish Bender from Charleston, South Carolina, an organic gardener with over 30 years experience. And I'm very pleased today to be bringing you the presentation by Master Herbalist Jaylyn Brannon. Jaylyn's background is quite interesting, and I think you're going to love her as much as I do. Jaylyn has been practicing herbalism for over 30 years. She is a certified master herbalist for 23 years. A graduate of Dr. John R. Christopher's world-renowned School of Natural Healing, Jaylyn also worked at the school. When she was not doing that, she is also practicing as a licensed massage therapist and is trained in over 20 forms of body work and energy work. She has successfully worked with clients with incurable, quote unquote, incurable diseases, and believes that healing is simple and easy when we approach it from a holistic perspective. Jaylyn, you and I had an opportunity to do a private session a few weeks back, and I was blown away by your philosophy of not just East versus West or old medicine versus herbalistic medicine, but the whole picture, bringing everything together in a practical form that, you know, women and men have been practicing for 1,000 years. And I love the way that you approach food as a central source of healing in the body. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you and let us teach each other about effective natural healing. Jaylyn?
Thank you, Trish. Yes, our conversation was very interesting. And, you know, this is, I think, probably one of the greatest misconceptions people have about natural healing, and it deserves to be talked about right up front. Because if you're going to start looking at herbal medicine or natural healing methods, you really deserve to have a foundational understanding about how they work, because you're going to have a lot of difficulty actually getting them to work if you don't have this foundational knowledge. So I want to make sure that everybody has that so we're on the same page while we're talking about it. So the number one thing people think is that herbs are the natural equivalent of a drug. And while technically they can be considered that way because drugs were originally patterned after herbs, they operate in a very different way in the body. So I want to take a really close look at that here in the beginning. So if you're looking to replace natural healing with conventional medicine, one of the problems that we run into is we've been educated as as multiple generations for a while now with a very specific philosophy of medicine. And that philosophy of medicine comes to us from modern medicine. And it says, you know, so I kind of put it up here on the screen for you, that when an individual is experiencing any kind of symptoms, any kind of discomfort or disease or anything that's unpleasant for them, we've taken the view that the body is somehow malfunctioning and that we have to intervene. We have to force the body back into balance with, you know, through an outside force. And that's where drugs come in. That's where surgery comes in, and radiation and some of the other treatments that we typically find within modern medicine. And unfortunately, if this is the paradigm that you have for how the body heals and what's necessary to get it better, you may read about an herb and hear that it has specific medical action and how people are using it to replace a specific drug. And so you'll try to wean yourself off of a drug by taking an herb and find that it's just not effective. And this is the frustration a lot of people are having with herbal medicine. We really do not have a full appreciation for how actually incredibly powerful herbs are. And herbs can bring people back from the brink of death. And they can do this when they are being utilized in the proper framework. And by that, you know, I wanted to make sure we have a real clear understanding of what that framework is and the differences between the two, because it requires a complete shift in how we think about our health and how we think about healing and getting better. So the philosophy of natural healing takes the position that your body has the innate knowledge of how to heal itself. When you get a cut or a scrape, you don't have to tell the body what to do. It'll bleed, it'll form a scab. That scab will, the tissues will heal underneath, the scab sloughs off, and you may have a little bit of scar tissue, you may not. But the point is that all we do is clean it, make sure it's sanitary, and we put a Band-Aid on it, and then the body does all of the work of healing itself completely all on its own. We don't have to tell it what to do. We don't have to intervene. So it will heal itself of every ailment when we give it the proper nourishment, which means the building blocks for repair, and when we provide the proper environment for that kind of healing to take place. So it's a complete shift from modern medicine, where modern medicine sees the body as malfunctioning. We see the body as, oh, it's functioning perfectly. It just doesn't have what it needs to function in a way that's more comfortable for us. So that's why we want to take a look at this. Now, the focus in modern medicine is also very different from natural healing. In modern medicine, the focus is typically on, we're concentrating on the disease itself. We have this disease, we have these symptoms. We often refer to them as like my diabetes, my cancer, my, whatever. And we just take complete ownership of all of our symptoms or the diagnosis that we were given from the doctor. And the focus is always on suppressing this disease or destroying harmful pathogens, killing, and it's kind of a negative focus if you really think about it. And the contrast to that is when you're going after healing through natural means, you have a completely different shift. You're focusing on creating a healthy body, creating a body that can resist disease, that can fix these imbalances, and it can bring itself back into equilibrium. So it's a much more positive focus.